A hearty shalom to you, Barri Cae Seif here. We have been taking a look at the book and examining Persia. Persia in antiquity is Iran in modernity. You might be thinking, well, I just didn't know that Persia was so well represented in biblical literature, but it's there. What happened to it? Well, you know what happened to Persia in biblical literature? Persia was defeated. And you know who defeated Persia in biblical literature? The West did. The Greeks. I mentioned that in the book of Daniel. There's a story told about this battle between this ram and this goat, these two aggressive creatures that are forward-thinking, and they're spirited with energy as they collide. In the 8th chapter, he says in verse 4, I saw a ram charging toward the west, the north, and the south. There's this ram pushing west. No animal could stand against him. None could deliver from his hand. So he did as he pleased and magnified himself. And then in verse 5, he tells us while he's contemplating this ram charging west that couldn't be stopped, he says in verse 5, while I was contemplating this, behold, a male goat came from the west, crossing the face of the whole earth without touching the ground. And he came to the ram, and now when he mentions this animal, this male goat that came and didn't even touch the ground, it's an allusion to Alexander the Great moved so fast against the Persians to destroy them, no one could catch him. Well, you say, Jeffrey, yeah, you know, you Bible preachers, you look in the literature, you find something that seems to correlate, and you twist, and one can be left to wonder, is this really describing the struggle between the East and the West, with the West prevailing, with the Greeks prevailing, or is it just the expositor's creative imagination let loose in the literature? And God only knows we've seen a lot of that. In this case, it's explicit, it's not tacit. When I open up the Bible and offer a telling, I need to offer a telling of things that I can stand by, not just, you know, some people, they make statements, just, you want headliner stuff. Buy this book, learn this insight, support me, support my ministry. Look, we all need to make $1 and we all need a friend. But sometimes things are ramped up. But in my case, I just don't need to play the game. I don't care. It's not my bread and butter. The reason why I assert we're looking at a contest here in Daniel prophetically between Persia and the West, that it's the West that gets the better of it, is because the literature says as much. It's explicit in chapter 8. The ram that you saw with the horns stands for the kings of Media and Persia. The male goat is the king of Greece. So, you know, I'm not just creatively, you know, imposing things on the literature. There's this strong Persian force that moves west, only to be defeated by a Western force that moves east. And it's not only borne out by the way the literature interprets itself, but it's borne out in history. Don't take my word for it. Go to the movies. Go to the movies. Listen to me. 300 Spartans. Remember the story? The Persians came to invade the Greeks. They were held off. Subsequent to that, the Greeks confederated, and they put on a bolder front against the Greeks and turned them away. They lost, and the Greeks retreated ingloriously. In fact, previous to this, in this little mini-series, I was looking at the book of Esther, and this takes place against the backdrop in the wake of the failed expedition against the West that the Persians had embarked on. Well, what happened is that the Persians were turned around, but in the next generation, a Greek, Philip of Macedon, his son Alexander, went and exacted the vengeance of the Greeks. And here you have an allusion to that he moved so swiftly, his feet barely touched the ground. And what happens is Alexander the Great decisively defeated the Persians. Well, what do I want to do with all this? Again, I don't want to make fantastic claims, but to me it's interesting. When you look at the book, you find Persia there, and we find problems associated with Persia there, especially in relates to the Jews. Look, I only work here, it's in the Bible. When I look in the book as well, I find that Persia is ultimately defeated by Greeks, by the West. Look, you can't make this stuff up. What do you want to do with this, Jeffrey? I mean, where do I want to go here? Do I want to say that history is repeating itself? Do I want to say that it's prophecy? What claims do I want to make? I don't. All I want you to do is take a look at the book, and you can decide for yourself. Cosmic coincidence? Or is God up to something in the world? Is there some kind of news behind the news? Now, ultimately for me, I believe in providence. There's certain theological terms, pardon me for getting a little stuffy. Omniscience, God is all-knowing. Omnipotence, God is all-powerful. We do find in the Bible we're told God watches over his word to perform it. And it's just interesting to me when I open up the Word, when I open up the newspaper, I'm seeing stories that bear some kind of connection to each other. What do you think? Well, it's a rhetorical question if you can't answer, of course, but thank you for considering it with me. In a moment, you're going to hear from my better half when I pivot to Barri and we look at some good news from the Jews in the land of Israel.
Want to see how the gospel is advancing in Israel? Come on a 10-day charity trip with Sar Shalom Israel. While we see many of the biblical sites, we are there to care and share as we visit the sick, the injured, mothers of newborn babies, the elderly, and Holocaust survivors. You'll meet IDF soldiers as well as others living in the land of promise. Come with us to serve on a Hesed, a loving kindness trip. Contact Barri for more information.
You know, hon, I gave a commentary in the literature about wars east and west. And we turn on the news today and we hear wars east and west. Now, when we go to Israel, we're not wars east and west. We're the kingdom of God versus the kingdom of darkness. And, you know, when we go there, it's a ministry trip. And talk to us about the ultimate battle that we're engaged in as believers.
Well, God is all about love, and we are his hands and feet to share God's love, especially for, you know, with those who are the underserved in Israel. And, you know, there are different steps in tzedakah giving. One is, you know, you give and people know that you're giving. But one of the highest ones is don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, and to do it in secret. Matan beseter in Hebrew, gifts in secret. And that's what we really want to do. We are not going to bring glory to ourselves, but really to have the outward approach of care.
When Sar Shalom Israel goes to Israel, it's not to fight goats and rams. When we go there, we just bring resource and love for mission purpose in Yeshua's name to Arabs and Jews alike, right?
And you've coined the term before. Tours take you to where Yeshua walked yesterday, but Sar Shalom Israel takes you to where Yeshua walks today. And we work with partners in the land who are already established, and we want to be there to undergird them and support their beautiful work, because that's the fruit that remains.
Yes. And let me close out this section on this. People say, come to Israel. It'll make a difference in your life. Sar Shalom Israel says, come to Israel with us and help make a difference in somebody else's. God bless.